The Algerian War of Independence, fought between 1954 and 1962, was one of the most violent and transformative conflicts of the 20th century. It marked the end of 132 years of French colonial rule in Algeria and signaled a turning point in the era of global decolonization. But this war was not just a political struggle, it was a brutal, bloody, and deeply personal fight that scarred both Algeria and France for generations. Colonial background: Algeria had been under French control since 1830. Unlike other colonies, France treated Algeria as an integral part of its national territory. European settlers, known as pieds noirs, lived privileged lives, while the native Muslim Algerians were treated as second-class citizens. They faced discrimination, lacked political representation, and were economically marginalized. After World War II, hopes of reform and equality were crushed, and growing nationalist sentiment began to simmer. Inspired by global independence movements, Algerians increasingly demanded freedom. The war begins on November 1, 1954. A group called the FLN, the National Liberation Front, launched a series of coordinated attacks across Algeria. Their goal was simple: full independence. The French government responded with overwhelming military force. What followed was not a conventional war, but a brutal guerrilla conflict. The FLN used ambushes, bombings, and sabotage. The French army retaliated with mass arrests, torture, and village raids. Both sides committed atrocities. Urban warfare and torture. The conflict escalated dramatically during the Battle of Algiers in 1957. The FLN launched bomb attacks in urban areas, especially in the capital, Algiers. In response, the French military used harsh counterinsurgency tactics, most notoriously, systematic torture. The violence shocked the world and began to fracture public opinion in France. Protests erupted. French intellectuals, including figures like Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir, condemned the war. Soldiers returning from Algeria were haunted by what they'd seen and done. Political crisis in France. By the late 1950s, the war wasn't just tearing apart Algeria, it was tearing apart France. In 1958, a political crisis forced the return of General Charles de Gaulle to power. Though many expected him to preserve French Algeria, de Gaulle shocked the nation by acknowledging that Algeria's independence was inevitable. His position sparked outrage among French settlers and parts of the army. Some even attempted a coup. The road to independence. Negotiations between the FLN and the French government began in secret. After years of bloodshed, the two sides reached an agreement in 1962, the Evian Accords. That same year, Algerians voted overwhelmingly in favor of independence. On July 5, 1962, Algeria officially became a free nation. But independence came at a heavy price. Over 1 million Algerians were killed, hundreds of thousands more were displaced, and entire towns were left in ruins. Aftermath and legacy. The war also caused a mass exodus. Nearly 1 million European settlers fled Algeria, many of them never to return. In France, the war left deep political and psychological wounds. For decades, the government refused to even call it a war, instead referring to it as the Algerian events. Only in the 1990s and 2000s did France begin to publicly acknowledge the atrocities committed during the conflict. Conclusion: the Algerian War of Independence was not just a fight between two nations, it was a struggle over identity, dignity, and the legacy of colonialism. It exposed the brutal realities of empire and set the stage for other independence movements around the world. Today, both Algeria and France continue to grapple with the memory of this war, a conflict that ended an empire, but whose emotional and historical scars remain very much alive.